kutoka nimepata mafunzo kutoka kwa wataalamu wa DNA. Nimejifunza kulisha ng'ombe vyakula vya makundi yote, kwa ng'ombe kuwa safi na maji muda wote kuwepo kwa ng'ombe. Kutokana na kuzingatia ushauri wa wataalamu, ng'ombe wangu wameongeza maziwa kutoka lita 24 mpaka 30. Kipato changu kimeongezeka sasa hivi kutoka 400,000 kwa mwezi mpaka 700,000. Hii imeniwezesha kulipa ada za watoto mashuleni, kununua chakula nyumbani, matibabu.
We started our business some 20 plus years ago. I purchased one milk cow just for my family. But as we all know, cows reproduce, and within no time, my cows became many, and eventually I had more milk than I could use, and therefore I started giving it away to my friends. I eventually realized that this was a good business. And therefore I decided to regularize it and start processing the milk. By then I had like 300 liters. So I wrote a project proposal, and we got funding from the European Investment Bank and opened our dairy processing company in 1997. We started with a few farmers, but eventually we got more and more farmers. And to date, we have roughly 400 small-scale farmers that supply our factory every morning and every evening. Now, this has been an awesome journey, and I have seen a lot of lives changed through us and through the work that we do in the dairy industry. So what are the changes that I have seen? In terms of nutrition, our farmers have continued to produce more and more milk because they have a market. I have encouraged them that they don't sell all the milk to us, that they leave some milk for their families. And therefore, I have seen our farmers' family become healthier. 85% of the farmers that supply us milk are women. I have seen the lives of these women totally transformed. Women are very empowered. They have an income from the money we pay them from their milk. And because they have this income, they're able to influence their household expenditures. And this has really boosted their social and economic capital. Our farmers now are able to live in better houses. They are better fed. Their children are able to go to school because they have income to take their children to school. The other thing that has happened to our farmers is that they have actually become employers. Our farmers, when we started with them, many of them had just maybe one cow. Now they have 4 or 5 cows. And therefore, looking after these cows is a full-time employment. Apart from that, they are able to employ other people to help them. The dairy industry is really a game changer in terms of many SDGs. Number one, in terms of reducing hunger, we have seen our farmers become better fed. And in terms of employment, our farmers actually provide employment, and they themselves are employed. This has been an awesome journey for us, and we are still in it. The dairy industry is really a game changer to improving the livelihoods of people, especially women in the rural areas.
My name is Dr. Deo Symphorian Temba. I'm the director of the company called the Grand Dimam Co. Limited. At the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, Grand Dimam lost most of its business due to travel restriction. Grand Dimam was finding it difficult to sell its product. When DNA stepped in, we thought we would have to close our business in 2 months. But with DNA help, we have not only managed to stay up and protect our employees and farmers, but we have even exceeded last year's sales. We had a problem on our production line, whereby DNA, when they came in, they improve especially on advice on how to improve the production quality of our product.
My name is Jafet Mwakila, the Grand Mom Marketing Manager. The result we achieved after engagement with DNA, they helped us to raise our revenue. You remember that DNA intervened during COVID-19. So our sales raised from 25 million in a month to 30 above. DNA trained us on how to do our sales, especially we didn't use social media. Currently we're starting using social media, and we see the positive result from that side. Another thing we learned from DNA is how to survive during crisis. The future of Grandmom is bright. Upstream, we expect to collect more raw quality milk from smallholder dairy farmers. And downstream, we expect to increase market share. DNA has left us with a plan.
The design of the Dairy Nourishes Africa program really has been informed by a lot of the pro bono work we've done over the years with our social impact client partners and the ideas we have developed around farmer-allied intermediaries. The central idea, in a way, is rather simple. We believe that farmer-allied intermediaries are the linchpin firms that can help build more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable food systems in Africa. So what are farmer-allied intermediaries? These are really the firms that sit in the middle of the food supply chains that strategically source from commercially oriented smallholder farmers and connect them to markets in a way that strengthens their capacity and enhances their livelihoods. We call these farmer-allied practices or behaviors, and these behaviors are often really grounded in real intent, a firm underlying belief and commitment to shared value. The problem in Africa is that there aren't nearly enough of these farmer-allied enterprises, and those that exist struggle to scale. Most frequently, the cited reason for that is how difficult it is to access affordable financing. But really, while that is a problem, it is often just the most direct or obvious and proximate cause. In reality, these firms really have to wrestle with a whole host of challenges. Some are firm related, others are more systemic in the operating environment. So in short, these firms not only have they adopted a higher cost sourcing model intentionally, at least higher cost in the near term, but they're also dealing with a whole host of more systemic challenges. So this is where DNA comes in. DNA is designed as a market-led, full systems, grass-to-glass approach. And we look at farmer-allied intermediaries really as the anchors, as the key leverage point, the key entry point through which we transform the full value chain. It's a high-touch approach, and what I mean by that is that we work with these dairy processor management teams very closely, hand in hand, to define a clear multi-year growth plan. Maybe I'll share our work with one of those companies with you, and the company is Grandmom, and it's a small, medium dairy processor based in Arusha, near Kilimanjaro in northern Tanzania. When we first engaged with Grandmom, this was in the wake of the first wave of COVID, and literally the whole tourism industry has collapsed in that part of Tanzania, borders closed. The historical markets through which Grandmom sells its product, hotels, restaurants, cafes, all closed down. So at some point, they're literally looking at less than 2 months cash on hand. So we got to work pretty quickly. We helped them pivot to a completely new market, new customer segment. They evolved their product mix, product portfolio from hard cheeses that appeals to tourists to yogurt and mtindi, which is this local fermented milk drink that appeals to local Tanzania consumers. And we co-funded these branded tricycles where you would have freelance sales agents, often young people, who would sell these products in local neighborhoods. Through these and other interventions, we were able to help Grandmam maintain their business. But more than that, they actually have had their best year yet. Their sales actually increased over 35% year on year. And in doing so, we were able to also help protect the livelihoods of their 800 plus smallholder farmers and their families. So as a result of this upstream work, we're able to see farm productivity improve over 48%. We saw the quality of raw milk improve as well, with an acceptance rate of close to 100%. And importantly, we saw farmer incomes increase by over 45%. But importantly, we're also seeing much greater adoption of sustainable practices that will really result in lower net greenhouse gas emissions, such as more sustainable pasture development, the growing of multi-purpose trees, and more effective manure management. Our plan is to scale this work in Tanzania over the next few years, working with more farmer-allied dairy processors, continuing to share our learnings and best practices, and also addressing the ecosystem challenges that I referred to earlier. Ultimately, our hope is to not only unlock the agricultural production potential in East Africa, but unlock and unleash its human potential and build a dairy sector that really works better for people and the planet.
The global dairy industry is a 1 billion person strong community, a community that starts with more than 130 million dairy farms around the world, dairy farms in which more than 600 million people live and work, dairy farms that support and create 125 million jobs, jobs that support an additional hundreds of millions of family members. Collectively, 1 billion people whose livelihoods depend largely or entirely on the dairy sector, a sector that reaches 6 billion consumers every year, a sector that collectively is the world's largest agricultural commodity by value. As such, dairy has an opportunity, and indeed a responsibility, to be part of the solutions to challenges facing the world today. And DNA, Dairy Nourishes Africa, is a part of that solution. It recognizes that if we're going to solve the problems of the world, we can't simply focus on the developed markets. We have to understand the solutions that fit in the developing world. And so the dairy industry has come together, brought in resources, brought in expertise, brought in knowledge, but with the firm understanding that we're there to listen to the solutions that are needed in markets like East Africa, to help them find solutions to their own local problems, to look at how we can build resilient communities, to build sustainable economic models, not just to come in and say what's wrong, but to listen to what we can do to help make it better, to work on sustainability numerator, higher quality nutrition available locally where it's needed, and reduce on a sustainability denominator, reduce our environmental footprint, understand how we manage food waste. And it's a commitment that the dairy industry has made globally, that the CEOs of some of the world's largest dairy companies have committed to: resources, knowledge, dollars, expertise. Understanding it's a long-term program. It's not 1 or 2 years, it's 10 or 15 years. Understanding that this isn't necessarily a driver for them commercially, but it's a driver for us as an industry to show how we can be part of these solutions. Understanding what we can do in the world to make it better. And beyond that, Dairy Nourishes Africa is part of an even broader global dairy industry commitment to solving the problems, specifically part of Pathways to Dairy Net Zero, something that's been launched and we'll hear more about at Food Systems Summit and the upcoming COP. So we're committed. We understand we have to improve. We understand dairy is part of the solution, not the singular solution, but we believe working together broadly across Africa and expanding out further, we can indeed be part of that long-term solution to create truly resilient, food secure, sustainable communities around the world.
Oh,